Hello, 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 hello. This is G. We're going to walk through the month of July. Actually, we're going to just discuss the 7 days, the first 8 days of July. So this is for July 1st to July 8th. Hopefully you got to see a quick peek of the chart. This is a big week. Well, what do you see? We see a lot of blue. We don't see a whole lot of red. So you might not feel like this is a super big week, but it is. It is big. And we'll go over that in a second. So July 1st, next 7 days. And the week starts off right here. So this is the sun, an authority figure. And it's in a strong T-square with the north and the south nodes. So typically the nodes represent, well, they're called the moon's nodes. So it's feminine energy. It's the moon. This is feminine energy. This is the public. Think moon. Think of all those keywords. Emotions. The tides of the ocean, right? We think lunar cycles, the moon. We think family and emotions, nurturing the past, ancestry, but it can also be the past, especially the south node, the past, the history of somebody in charge, because that's what the sun is. Sun's like, hey, I am the authority figure. I'm the big boss. It's usually masculine energy, but this sun is in the sign of Cancer. So it's interesting because it's the sun, masculine energy inside of Cancer energy. So that means you got like mother and father energy, right? They're together. And normally when they're together, it creates a new beginning. So anytime the sun is in Cancer, it's always extremely fascinating to me because technically anytime the sun and the moon meet up in the sky at the same degree in the same sign, that is what we know as a new moon. And if you've done any, manifesting, any, sometimes people put those boards up, those vision boards, and they just keep track and they're working on setting intentions. You know that energy is real. It's not like a figment of your imagination. That's moon and sun time when they are together. So the beginning of this week, right, like I said, right off at the top is fascinating for me. Let's see how that looks. You're going to have the sun down here in the sign of Cancer. This is the beginning of the week. There it is. There's the sun in Cancer energy at 10 degrees. This 10 degrees is huge. We have a lot going on in the chart at 10. You can see right here, Aldebaran is at 10 in Gemini. And we already have at the beginning of the week, Jupiter sitting there at 8 degrees, which means it's conjunct Aldebaran. Jupiter can be judges, can be religion and spirituality and your beliefs. It can also be your understanding of freedom and independence. It's very adventurous energy, can also be a bit dramatic energy. In Gemini, these can be higher education and college. It can also be being in Gemini, because like teacher, right? But this is grade school, high school, and this is extended education, college. So it's this mixture. I also think of librarians when I see this, the writers, the scribes, the keeper of the information and the knowledge, the reporters. So it's the reporters and the editors. It's the editorial Jupiter. It's the judges. It's the my opinion piece. And then, hey, these are just the facts. We just want the facts, ma'am. We don't need your opinion. Just state the facts. But this is definitely opinion right here. Jupiter, all about the opinions. Conjunct Aldebaran. Now, I'm saying this because this is all at the same time that the sun is being squared. We'll put it like that. The sun is being squared by the north and the south node. And you see the T-square that I have drawn up in the chart. We'll find the red and go over it one more time for you. There it is. That's the T-square drawn up in the chart. Okay. So it's double emphasized here because it's the north and the south node. The south node is representation of the past, and it's past partnerships. Partnerships. And what did we do? Business partnerships, lawyers. Yeah. Business partnerships, lawyers, the law. This could be the courtrooms and the contracts. These are relationships, business and professional. This is what we did in the past. I know I already said it, right? I did. But I can't say it enough because Jupiter is trining this. The sun is squaring it, but Jupiter is trining it. Jupiter and Aldebaran are sending this beautiful blue sweet trine that I also have drawn in the chart, and it's really been double emphasized. It's super strong. This is how the week begins. It just begins with bam, all this energy. So Jupiter trining this energy while the north and the south node themselves are squaring the sun. Somebody in the charge, somebody who used to be in charge, because we're talking about the sign of Cancer. Now, on the other note, because if we're talking about like courtroom cases, we can probably fill in the blanks with names. But this can also be the public, and this can be homes and family, and literally like the home that you live in, your sticks and brick, or whatever it is that you call home, the roof over your head where you lay your head down at night. Mom and women energy really strong because it's the moon, and that is women, feminine energy, feminine causes, feminine rights, the ability to have a baby, my choice to choose not to have a baby, my choice to do with my body as I please. Cancer energy, the woman holds that ability. Venus is here at 17 degrees. Sun traveling. The sun will travel 7, 8 degrees. The sun by the end of this week will be where Venus is at the beginning of this week. Venus is our values. Venus is also feminine energy. Women of value. Mercury is also here at a critical degree. This is all right at the beginning of the week. Right at the beginning of the week. So it's kind of the week gets kicked off looking at this big T-square. Wow, there's a supportive trine, a very supportive trine between Gemini and the South Node. Between Gemini energy and the South Node, there is a supportive trine for what? A release and a let go, because it's the South Node. Of judgments, is the judgment going to create the let go and the release of the South Node? And the partnerships, is that's what's going, it can go both ways. Spirituality, releases of even my understanding and forgiveness, because all these keywords fit with Jupiter. Think Pisces. It's all the same thing, right? We think drama, we think performances, we think public figures, we think foreigners, immigration, emigration. We think, hey, what's going on over there? Public figures is big, and authoritarians and people who believe more power, the better. And it's all about me, me, me. Uranus is going to be prominent this week. I don't have it really marked real like a whole lot, but if you look carefully here, you'll see that Uranus is at 25 and Elgo's at 26. You see that? They're both they're getting really, they're conjunct. And Mars is going to catch up, not right now, but what Mars is going to do is move 4 degrees this week. And so by the 20th, by the end of this week, Mars is going to be about 21 degrees. And because Elgo and Uranus are so close, I think at the end of this week, there's going to be some action taken by an authority figure. And it could have something to do with values and banking and someone who's in charge of setting interest rates. But I don't know if that happens in this month. I'm not an economist, so I'm not really positive when all that occurs. But an authority figure is Uranus, and these can be the authoritarians, because they've been trying to really show their ugly head and their power, their abuses of power. Pluto and Aquarius. Aldebaran, really powerful, and it can bestow great power. But if you were not ethical in how you used your power, stuff can go dark. It could turn a corner. And there's judgment there because Jupiter is the judge. So this situation connected to the South Node leads me to believe a release of a belief, release of a political figure, release of somebody who was in power in the past. It's a very good possibility. At the same time, there could be something here with women and home and family and the housing market, because Gemini energy, where Jupiter is, Gemini energy is the markets in general. We think the stock markets, but also the housing market. This is your local community, right? This is your ability to communicate, to share. This is Gemini, right? Friends, coworkers, neighbors, peers. Jupiter typically brings confidence. Jupiter can also, though, can go overboard. It can exaggerate. It can add to things. I'm recording this at the end of May, and it already feels like, oh my God, how am I going to make it through this Jupiter and Gemini season? An overload of information. Well, just got to discriminate, be very selective as to the kind of information and the kind of news that I allow myself to go in, that I allow into my brain. Here we are on the 2nd. Black Moon Lilith gets involved. Black Moon Lilith has started a retrograde. She was in Virgo, and now she went direct, and she has now entered into Libra energy on the 2nd. At the same time, you see this? While Black Moon Lilith enters Libra, remember the scales of justice, Libra, equality, fairness, partnerships, marriage and business partnerships, lawyers, right? The courtroom, like this is that energy. Black Moon is usually a monkey wrench, right? Kind of our shadow side in our personalities, like, oh no, Black Moon's involved, something's going down, and that's usually how it works. On the same day, Neptune begins a retrograde. Neptune is in Pisces. Neptune is illusions and delusions. Neptune makes things confusing. We can get our data mixed up. Like we're like, oh, I said that wrong. That's not what I meant to say. Or I read something and I understood it completely differently, and it just wasn't at all the way it was written, or it wasn't even what someone said to me. By the time it got through my ear and into my brain, I completely jumbled it up, and I thought that they said this, and that's not at all what they said. It's to teach us how to see clearly, to teach us to be able to see through the fog, to discern fact from crap. And so Neptune beginning its retrograde. Oh joy. Oh joy. Neptune in Pisces. And what rules that? What's the ancient ruler of Pisces? Jupiter. Right. And where's Jupiter? In Gemini. And this all matters because the energy of Neptune and what Neptune's doing, because it's in Pisces, it plays a role in how Jupiter will function. It's all connected, and the signs are all connected and sending information back and forth into each other. They're the pot on the stove, and we're throwing all the ingredients, and so they're all marrying and sitting around together and cooking and picking up the flavor and the essence and the influence of the other planets. The difference is, if we are paying attention, if we are trying to truly kind of like elevate in our consciousness and our awareness, we can see it as it's happening, and we're like, oh, that's that. I see it, right? But it takes a lot of intention to be able to point and to see that stuff in your own life. It's not about pointing a finger and calling a name at somebody. It's about, oh my God, this is where I was completely delusional. This is where I completely lost my temper. This is where I just said, I give up. I'm done. This is where I wanted to beat someone down. This is where I did really good. This is where I accept, like it's having the awareness, it's having the cognizance of our own personality and our egoic ways. Enough of that. We get to the 4th, July 4th, Independence Day. What's that going to look like in the States? Well, here we go. Look Look, do you see this shit? South node is in Libra, freedom. I'm sorry. South node is in Libra, a release and a let go. Has to do with the past. It's partnerships, established partnerships from the past, equality, liberty, right? Balance. Venus rules this. It's conjunct Black Moon Lilith. South node, conjunct Black Moon Lilith in Libra. That's July 4th to July 8th. July 4th to July 8th. That's between 8 and 11 degrees. So when you pull this back on the chart, you already know North and the South node are part of this, right? North and South node are always connected. And we go down to that degree between 8 and 11. And that is where Jupiter and the Sun and Aldebaran are located. That connection between Jupiter and the South node and Black Moon Lilith, you see that trine right there? But the Sun is the square. The Sun is the square. Now, the Sun moves pretty fast. So that square that I showed you at the very beginning was between the Sun was really already done and over with by the second, by the third. Even, yeah, by the third, by the fourth. The Sun's already at 14 degrees by the fourth. So in your chart, if you have something, right? If you have something in either Cancer or Capricorn energy between 8 and 11 degrees, that's where you will have a T-square. All right? Cancer and Capricorn between 8 and 11 degrees. And this would be for the 4th of July. All right? It's this Black Moon Lilith and the nodes that are starting to tighten up, right? Starting to tighten up, and they're angling. It's emotions, so there might be things about mom and family involved. But it's also here where you live, like the roof over your house, right? The family and the environment, feminine energy, because it's Cancer energy. You follow? And then maybe something connected to the past with that. So the moon's nodes, the north and the south node, squaring Cancer and Capricorn energy between 8 and 11 degrees. But when the Lilith gets there and joins that T-square, it's like, so there might be like stress and tension that you're feeling yet again. And lo and behold, it's on July 4th. Sorry, that takes us from July 4th to July 8th because Lilith starts to angle that square up by July 4th. And then she releases once she gets past the 11-degree mark, okay? And that's on the 8th. A new moon in the sign of Cancer, all right? So it's at 14 degrees. Remember, that's the sun and the moon together in the sign of Cancer at 14 degrees. This will be a replay. This isn't something brand new because for the first 6 months of 2024, we were experiencing a big T-square at this cardinal point in our charts. All right. So some of those points are still there, but not really. The moon's nodes have moved beyond 14. So now the cardinal T-square is 14 degrees. And there's an opposition to Capricorn energy because we still have Sirius there. And we still have Vega there. Vega doesn't move and Sirius is pretty slow and it's been doing a retrograde. So it's a new moon in Cancer, but it's got this strong opposition. If you want more details, new moon is a new beginning and Cancer energy. Think home and family, maybe even the housing market and the public. Go watch that video. I'll connect it and I'll link it below if you haven't seen it. And maybe I'll put the thumbnail up in here, depending upon how far I've gotten. But that's the new moon on the 5th. New moon, new beginnings. This is a big week. So a lot of this energy, especially since we've got Jupiter and Aldebaran conjunct, and it's in Gemini, and again, the housing market, the stock market, and real estate in general, because we're mentioning Capricorn, which is, corporate money, corporations, and banking, because we got Taurus and we got Uranus being triggered, Mars traveling through. At this time for this week, there's a big water trine that that keeps getting reactivated as Mercury flows through here. As Mercury flows through, Mercury's already at 28. So last week, Mercury was doing the trine, and now Venus has joined it. But then right behind Venus is going to be the sun. So this trine that's with us is strong. It's strong, and there's a lot of support. And again, all the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So I'm giving this an orb between, it's like between 12 and 20 degrees, right? Which can bring ease. It can bring ease. We're going down to the 8th on this chart. I've got Mars conjunct Uranus. I think I made a quick mention to that already. And that is, we think Uranus is kind of like that lightning bolt. It's shocks and surprises. So we want to be cautious. We're looking for just to slow our butt down and to pay attention. And again, that's around the 8th. The 8th, the 9th, the 10th that takes us to. So be careful, okay? At the bottom of the chart, I have a couple of dates written in, and this is where we're going to end it off. This is just to give you a heads up going forward because I have so much written down, but I have the 10th, and I have Venus at 29 degrees. Look at that on the 10th. So you see this week is really big. There's a lot of things that happened this week. Venus is money and values, desire, love. That's Venus. She's going to be at 29 degrees in the sign of Cancer, right where Mercury is at the beginning of this week. So what that tells you is whatever you're hearing about in the news at the very beginning of the week, by the end of the week, Venus will be there. What that means is when a planet matches up and goes to a place where a planet previously was, especially Mercury, which is, I'm leaving you some details. So this is Mercury. I write the reports, right? And there's data. Mercury writes a report and it's here. So when Venus gets through, Venus hooks up with that information. She gets privy to the details and the data and the information that Mercury left behind, right? The report that Mercury wrote, the book that Mercury wrote, Venus gets connected to that information. And so there might be additional things that we're hearing about because now, by the end of this week, now we've got Mercury that is in Leo energy. When next week begins, the chart will start off with Venus entering Leo. That's where we'll start off next week. The Venus enters Leo, and we'll talk a little bit more then about the Mercury retrograde that happens in Leo energy. Yeah, we'll have a separate chart for the Mercury retrograde, and we'll talk about it then with a separate video and links to it. All right, guys, this is it. We're done. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if you got any questions, comment below. Remember, I appreciate you and your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.